freestyle travel. Hey everybody, this is Kenny Flannery here, as always your host. I am in Iowa, right by the Nebraska border, right on the river here pretty much. This episode is jam-packed, a bunch of Midwest hitchhiking. All kinds of rides, probably like 100 rides altogether. Maybe not that many, close to them. It's been about a month since the last episode. I was in Nashville dog sitting. I use that website trustedhousesitters.com. Basically got a free membership at this point because my referral code got thrown into the wind. I think just was showing up in random Google searches, so a bunch of people have used it, and I just have free membership for some years. I think it's in the show notes if you want to use it. But anyways, pretty decent little website there. Stayed at this dude's house in Nashville, just watched his dog, super chill dog, for I think it was close to 2 weeks by the time it was done. As I was almost wrapping up, he asked if I could stay like 2 or 3 days longer, and yeah, I wasn't in a hurry, so said sure. Yeah, so I'm gonna catch you up on everything that happened from then, getting up into Michigan, and yeah, more through the Midwest, and eventually all the way here to Iowa, where I am now, and where I'll be heading tomorrow. Probably might be a couple episodes in a row here. Be seeing Liz Stewart here pretty soon. Yeah, so I'll catch you up on all of that. While I was in Nashville, though, I got a bunch done on trip hopping, so check it out. Kind of excited about the updates I got done. It's just been a long time coming, getting all these like preferences done. So now you can add all your preferences to your profile in trip hopping, everything from the kind of places you like, to the pace of travel, to your budget, to whether or not you're looking for a travel partner, the kind of points of interest you're into, from waterfalls to breweries, what sort of travel skills you have, whether it's sewing or teaching languages or all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of stuff now that you can add, which is helpful for a lot of reasons and will continue to get better. First of all, it just shows on your profile like what your style is, whether you're into hitchhiking or driving, or whether you're the type of person who's usually taking buses or trains. Yeah, so now when you look at someone's profile or someone looks at yours, they can get kind of a snapshot, the kind of a traveler you are to an extent, which is pretty cool. I also bolstered the travel partner feature. So if you click the top right of the app or the website, which is usually your face, there's a little drop down and you can hit travel partners, or might change that to travel companions at some point. Just the wording. But yeah, you can flip a little toggle and be discoverable by other people looking for travel partners, and right there you can just scroll down and see the other people around the world who are kind of up for traveling, whether they're just looking for a travel buddy, whether they're looking to form a group of travel people, or whatever. They'll show up on that list, and you can, yeah, with those preferences especially, you can see exactly what people's travel style is, and take a look, see where they want to travel, and maybe you'll find somebody to link up with. Anyone following along with the Nostr thing, it's compatible with Nostr as well, so pretty cool. So it'll work with other apps besides just trip hopping, which is cool. The other big thing about adding the preferences is, and this is something I did today, which will be live on the website and live on the app within a day or two, is AI suggestions. So this has worked since the beginning pretty much, but now it's much better with your preferences. So now if you're on the Explore page and you hit that little blue magic wand button towards the top, you'll see a bunch. It'll take like, I don't know, 2 to 5 or 10 seconds at the very most, depending on your internet connection, and it'll give you all kinds of suggestions on the place that you're looking at. So it'll use your preferences if you filled them out, and it'll tell you like cool things to do. So for me, I obviously have like breweries, and I also have waterfalls and hikes and stuff, so it'll suggest a bunch of that kind of stuff nearby. So right now I'm in Council Bluffs, so it'll suggest a few things around here to take a look at. It'll suggest foods that are unique to the area, and you can tap the food. It'll go to a Google image search, which is sometimes helpful when it's like, what the hell is that? It'll suggest places to go next. It'll tell you a little bit about the area in general. If a visa is required, all kinds of good stuff. Just click it. It's pretty fun. I got that working really well today, and that's all based on preferences. So yeah, that's what's up with trip hopping, the latest updates. And yes, let me jump into this mega hitchhiking Midwest little journey, catching up with friends, seeing some new places, stealth camping, all the good stuff. Let's jump right in. All right, so let's go on a little journey here. Starting in Nashville, the dog sitting thing. As I said, I got all that trip hopping stuff done, and my next stop was Indianapolis. Back in the United States for the summer, and I figured it'd just be cool to travel west via all the northern states, all these states that get really cold and snowy come like January. So this is the best time of year to be in all these states. And I've got friends that I haven't seen in some years. And as I'll get to, there's even a friend in Michigan who I hadn't seen in like a decade. And yeah, just some spots I wanted to go to. And the first one was Indianapolis. I've got a buddy there I originally couch surfed with. Always loved catching up with him, and it's been a couple years or so since I've seen him. So that was the first step. So I got myself out of Indianapolis, started hitchhiking, and it was an interesting day. Right away, someone got shot in the head twice. Yeah, so this couple picked me up as I was like kind of getting moving. And they said they were going like 20 miles up the road, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to Indianapolis, and like just got to get through Louisville. And actually, before they picked me up, I'll just tell you about the first ride of the day. This guy was just cool. He owned some businesses in Bowling Green, and took me out to this like restaurant that his buddy owned, and then to a bakery that his wife owned, and like filled me full of food and got me back on the road. So that was like the start of the day. So I was like, oh, cool. So then this couple picked me up. And yeah, I was like going to Indianapolis, and Louisville's kind of the next big city. And then they kind of looked at each other and like, yeah, fuck it, yeah, we'll take you to Louisville. There's some chicken spot that they hadn't been to in a while, and that was kind of motivation enough for them to go the extra 40 minutes or an hour up the road. But they're like, all right, first we gotta like just go on this errand. So we turn off the highway, and I don't know, it was like 20 minutes or so to get to this town where they were going. I found out they're just going there to like pick up some weed. But along the way, the girl found out that her ex-boyfriend got shot in the head twice at either a car wash or a car dealership that he owned like that day, like just now. Some whatever shit he was up to, somebody walked in there broad daylight, I guess it was two guys, shot him in the head twice and got out of there. So she's on the phone with a bunch of people, kind of getting more information, relaying information, trying to figure out what that's all about. And it's an ex-boyfriend, so she's not like, I don't know, emotional and bent out of shape about it, but it's definitely like fucking crazy. Like, so she's doing that. We're going to buy this weed, and they're running into people, and some little girl, maybe one of their nieces, joins us, and I don't know, like a couple hours, maybe a few hours go by of just like dealing with all this, and I'm like, I probably should have just stayed on the highway in terms of keeping it moving. But finally we're on the road, and now this niece is with us, and she's complaining. She doesn't know where we're going. Taking there, just all I got is this like cinnamon whiskey right now. No beer. Hold on. Let's take a little swigs off of that. Yeah, so finally they get me up to Louisville, but like the south side of Louisville. So I'm like, shit, I still got the whole city to get through. They drop me off. Luckily, that goes kind of smooth. I get a ride a little further up, and then someone takes me to the northern side, and then finally a 18-wheeler. gets me cruising. He says he's going like way north, like through Indianapolis, so freaking perfect. Gets me up there, drops me off. My buddy picks me up where he dropped me off, and go get some dinner. We catch up, and yeah, fucking A. So I spent a few days with him, catching up. Hit up Moontown Brewery if you're ever like around Indianapolis. It's like a little north of the city. Definitely worth it. We went there, got some food, got some beers, and yeah, just generally caught up. Helped him around the house with a couple things, and just yeah, kicked it there for a couple days. Always good catching up with him. And the next friend I wanted to go see was up in Lansing. Buddy of mine I met through couch surfing in Vegas, and I've seen in a bunch of spots, New York, New Orleans, for example, and I've seen him in Lansing a few times. I even house sat for him in Lansing when I was writing one of the books that hasn't been released yet, actually. It was a while ago. It's supposed to be like the big book. Good buddy of mine, so just took a couple rides to get up there. First ride was real short. This guy wasn't really going anywhere, but then the next guy was cool. He works on Domino's Pizzas, like building new locations, and he was going right through Lansing, so fucking A, dropped me off, and then yeah, caught up with my buddy and his girlfriend for a few days, just hanging out there in Michigan. I was just kind of stoked to get up into Michigan, and the fireflies were like jumping. I kind of grew up with fireflies around like Connecticut kind of area, and I don't know, I feel like I haven't seen them in a while. I almost forgot about them, but they were kind of going off every night there, so that was cool. Just yeah, catching up with him. He was working on his car. I helped him with that a small amount, and just rode around with that once it was going. Pontiac Grand Prix 1963, pretty awesome. Roaring around Lansing, and yeah, just having some drinks in the backyard. He's got like some axe throwing set up, and just chilling. It's right before the 4th of July, so people are already throwing off fireworks every freaking night. It was good, just catching up with him, and then my next thing was like, I'll probably go up to the UP. I knew there's a buddy in Minneapolis I wanted to see, and some other stuff, and I was like, I could either go down through Chicago or up to the UP, and I'm like, I'd rather not get stuck in Chicago, so decided to go up to the UP, and then actually via trip hopping, I was looking at the map, and I was like, oh shit, my buddy Anthony is in Baldwin, Michigan, which I met him out in Utah, and I guess he's living there in Baldwin now. Another win for trip hopping, because I noticed that on the map. So I'm like, oh shit, sent him a message, and he's like, dude, show up anytime. Show up anytime. So I did. Fucking July 2nd. Headed out there. My buddy gave me a ride kind of out of Lansing a little bit, and on the way to Baldwin, my buddy in Lansing, he doesn't drink anymore, but there's some coconut beer he mentioned was really good, and it was like kind of most of the way to Baldwin. So caught a couple rides and got dropped off there. It's called Cranker's Brewery. It turned out to be absolutely awful. I went there and they didn't have the coconut beer. So either they just went way downhill, or the coconut beer is the only one that they make that's good. But anyways, I thought the place was going to be awesome, so I just ordered a flight. They're all bad, but the people there were very cool. Bartender was awesome. The other people hanging out were very cool. So it was like, yeah, one of those situations. Some of the worst beer I've ever had, but very cool setup. And then while I was there, Anthony was like, oh, I can come pick you up there. So I ended up having a few beers there afterwards, even though, man, just one after another, they just were not good. But super cool people. So it was nice hanging around. And anyways, buddy picked me up, and if you ever read my book, Six-Pack of Hitchhiking Stories, if you haven't read it, it's the first book I ever put out. I recommend it. You can get it on Amazon, either digital, paperback, or the audiobook, Six-Pack of Hitchhiking Stories. But I believe it is chapter 1, where I talk about hitchhiking from Salt Lake to Laramie, Wyoming, and doing this Tour de Laramie where you get on bicycles and wear capes and costumes and try to hit every bar in town. It's like a whole thing. They do it every year. He was involved in that. And I don't think I've seen him since that, or at least not. It's been a while. So anyways, it was just awesome catching up with him. We were just drinking all over town, catching up on old stories. He's got a daughter now, and it's been there in Michigan for a minute. So lots to catch up on, lots of drinking, meeting some of his friends. Just a hell of a night. Hell of a night. And I actually had some of the books with me. So when I went to, while I was in Lansing, my buddy there and his girlfriend did own like a houseplant store. And the last time I was there, I did a book signing there, and there were some books left over, and I left them with him to sell out of the plant store. And the plant store has since shut down. There's a bunch of drama there I won't get into, but he had like 6 or 7 books left over, so I grabbed those to travel with. So it was kind of funny. We were just like paging through that book and going after some of that. Let me take another shot of this whiskey. So hell of a night, epic night, really fun, catching up. Obviously pretty hungover the next day, pretty chill day, and the day after that was the 4th of July, and Anthony there is in, he plays like tuba and trombone, he's in a bunch of bands and stuff, so there's a 4th of July parade and gig that he had a few towns over towards the coast, Ludington, so we cruised over there. I kind of did my own thing during the day while he was doing his thing. Until later, I watched Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Fuck yeah, Ludington Bay Brewery. Watched Joey Chestnut dominate once again. Fuck yeah. Always love that. 4th of July is awesome. And and then saw him in the parade, and then went to his gig, and then we hung out and grabbed a quick beer in town, and then got back to his town and met up with a friend of his, and she was just running around, and oh, it was all good times. The next day, some more chilling, kicking it. Actually squeezed a little bit of trip hop and coding in, and then his friend, she came over again, and she was drinking, and she knew about these fireworks, even though it was the day after 4th of July going on by this lake, town over. So we went there, and then one of her friends was celebrating someone's 70th birthday, lived right on the lake, so we hung out with all of them, and just had a great night right on the lake. Fucking Michigan style is, this is exactly why I'm back here in the U.S. for these kind of vibes, hanging out on the lake with fireflies and fireworks and people drinking and warm weather on the lake. It's awesome. So I spent one more day just kicking it, getting some laundry done, that kind of thing. And then I was like, all right, let me finally get up to the UP here. So Anthony gave me a ride up to Cadillac, which is a town in Michigan. And at this point, I'm in full kind of wing it mode, because the next sort of friend I wanted to see was in Minneapolis, but I knew he was going to be in Ireland soon, so I wasn't like going to be racing there. Another friend in Iowa that I'll get to, but basically I was just going to be winging it. Not really too concerned with how far I got or where I got every day, just in that kind of mode, just slowly heading north and west. So anyways, that was kind of the vibe. He dropped me off in Cadillac. I got a ride fairly quick from this guy heading north, then another guy heading north, and then finally a ride just to Mackinac City, where the bridge is. I always mess up whether it's Mackinac, Mackinac. And then just waited, and then a guy gave me a ride just right over the bridge. You can't walk over the bridge. I think it's the biggest suspension bridge in the world, maybe in the country, or maybe it used to be. Anyways, pretty epic bridge, but you can't walk over it except for like Labor Day or Memorial Day. Everybody walks over it, but on a normal day, you can't do it. But it was actually one of the longer waits, just waiting for a ride over the bridge. And this guy went over the bridge and was immediately going different directions. So that's all it was a ride over the bridge. And then I walked and finally got a ride from a guy heading west a little bit. He dropped me off in a town called Manistee, because during the day I'd just been like telling people, yeah, I'm going to the UP, and all these people giving me rides were like giving me advice too. And one of the guys who gave me a ride said Manistee was pretty cool, and he said like 10 miles north of there was this thing called Big Spring or Kitchikippy or something like that. He's like, it's super clear water. You can see all the way down to the bottom. As clear as can be. It's like big fish in there. He's like, it's kind of worth checking out. So I'm like, all right, cool. At this point, it was getting a little bit later, so what do I do when I show up to a town a little bit later? I find a brewery. Kind of running out of money, actually, at the moment. But freaking beer is expensive, man. But yeah, $9 for an IPA after tipping and stuff. Jesus, it wasn't even that good. The brewery in Manistee. Probably could have given that one a pass. And like touristy too. It was weird. Sometimes you take an L, but whatever. Went in there, grabbed a beer, and then it was already getting dark, so I kind of walked out of town in the direction of this big spring, and found a place to camp. Got through the mosquitoes, got my bivvy, and passed out. Woke up. I came out of the trees, didn't even rub the sleep out of my eyes, and stuck my thumb out in the very first car. This woman, she picked me up. Taking a shot of this whiskey. So yeah, it was starting off like it was going to be a good day. Because like I said, she just, literally I'm just out of the trees, just thumb out before I even got fully to the side of the road. Yeah. Instant ride, pretty cool. She said she lived nearby. And after like 2 minutes of talking, she was just like, I know where you're going. I'll take you right there. Which is actually pretty awesome. Because apparently this place costed money. You needed like a park pass or whatever to get into this big spring. And she was a local, so she had one. So got me in for free, dropped me off. I went and checked it out. It was pretty cool. There's a bunch of people there, like 10 or 20 other tourists with more coming. There's sort of this like pulley. It was like a barge with a glass bottom that could fit like 20 or maybe 30 people if you packed, and you have to spin this wheel and it takes you out on the wire. This cable kind of thing towards the middle of the spring. It's not very big or long, but kind of cool. Then you look through and see the fish and stuff, and whatever, it was chill. Then I walked back to the road, and that's when I kind of realized I was sort of in the middle of nowhere, and especially the direction I was going, there just wasn't much traffic, so I probably walked for a good 2 hours or more until there's construction going on too, and finally some woman stopped because she was checking her mail. It was her mailbox, and she's like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "I'm just trying to get back to the main road, Highway 2, keep it moving." And so she did that, gave me a ride. She dropped me off, and it was raining, and then started walking down the road, and I saw a big billboard, what I thought was a billboard for a brewery, and it was a brewery. It was a sign for the brewery, but it was closed. But the good thing was I was able to tuck in under there and kind of wait the rain out. Would have been nicer to be sipping a beer, but it's one of those breweries that's only open on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or some shit like that. But I kept it moving, and I'd heard Escanaba was cool, so hitched a ride there next from some local guy. Got to Escanaba, just kind of walked around the city a little bit, hit the grocery store, got some food, got myself a pasty, which is like this kind of Midwestern sandwich sort of thing, cheese curds and junk. And I was like, all right, Escanaba, not too special, let me kind of keep it moving, and sort of looked at the map, and I saw there was this city right on the border in Wisconsin. I was like, let me see if I can get there for the night and just find like a dive bar that has shuffleboard or something, screw around and see what happens. So I walked to the edge of town, and this guy picked me up, and he asked if I had any drugs. He was kind of like half joking, dude my age, and I was like, nah, nothing like that. He's like, I can give you a ride to the border. I was like, okay. I think that's perfect, actually, because that's kind of where I was going, that town. And we just started shooting the shit, and he was pretty chill, and going back and forth and talking about my travels and stuff, and then he sort of came out with it. He's like, I'm actually going all the way to Green Bay. He's like, I just wanted to make sure you weren't, well, he didn't say that, but that's what he was doing. He was just making sure I wasn't like a freak or something like that. And we were getting along real well, so he's like, I can take you to Green Bay, and like, it hadn't even really crossed my mind to go all the way to Green Bay, but I was like, well, if we're going, we're going. So I'm like, all right, fuck it, let's go to Green Bay. Let's see what happens. So By the time we got down there, he's like, oh man, you got to try like fried cheese curds and this and that. He's like, I'll get you some fried cheese curds, like get you dinner. And then he's like, we can go back to my place. You can get a shower. He's like, you can't stay the night or whatever, but I'll get you to a good spot. I was like, all right. So we stop and, drive through, get a burger and a bunch of cheese curds and stuff, and we go back to his place. And I'm kind of thinking, maybe this guy's going to end up like inviting me to stay the night, because this has been like, do you have drugs? I'm only going to the border. I'm going to Green Bay. Guess I'll get you dinner. You can come and take a shower. It's sort of escalating to maybe that point, but didn't end up working out like that. But, stopped at his place and chowed down, shooting the shit a little bit more. Did get a shower in, which was good. And then he's like, let me take you around Lambeau, let me show you the downtown. And then he's like, and then I'll get you to like a brewery or a bar or near a place to camp or wherever you want to go. I was like, all right, cool. So we went down, drove around Lambeau. At that point, it was already like 11 or something like that, and 10 or 11. I'm like, yeah, all these breweries are either closed or about to close. That's how breweries are. And I'm like, maybe there's a spot like on the edge of town with like a bar. And he's like, I know exactly like the spot. So he drove me over to the east, and there was like a little sports bar. He ended up dropping me off at. At that point, I was like on the edge of the city, where there's like more woods and stuff to camp. I'm like, I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to go tomorrow. But I'll figure it out. I think at that point I had sent a message, Trust Roots, like kind of like couch surfing kind of message to someone near Milwaukee actually, and they had said yes. So I think that was in play already. So I knew I would be going there. Anyways, he dropped me off at a bar. I had a beer. It was nothing special there. So walked around, found a place to camp in the woods near some park. Kind of stealth camped. Something freaked me out. Made this crazy sound. Like I heard something like crawling up on me, So like I made some sound myself, and then I heard it like tumble backwards and get like startled that I was there, and then it hissed at me real loud, and then fucking hissed a couple times more. And I tried to Google it in the morning. I was like, what the fuck makes that sound? It's like this raspy hiss sound, and I had heard it coming up on me. And honestly, the closest sound I could find was a barn owl. But I'm like, are barn owls? Maybe they are. Like, this thing was definitely like not scampering, but like on the ground, walking around. So I don't know. It was either a barn owl or a possum or something. Freaked me out for a second. I was like, don't come fuck with me. Anyways, got up in the morning and I'm like, all right, I guess I'll, I think I want to go to Sheboygan. Yeah. That's what I was gonna do. All right. So the dude in near Milwaukee, I forget the name, Waukesha. This family, they had said they could host me there. So I'm like, all right, that's the target, but not for another day or so. So I was like, let me go to Sheboygan, just because it sounds cool. And there's like this Three Sheeps brewery that's supposed to be pretty good, and it's like, let me kind of aim for there. But I got all screwed up. So I got on the entrance to the highway and waited for a long time. And a couple people were going north to like Door County in that area. And I'm like, fuck. Like they pulled over. The ramp I was on like would go north and south. But I couldn't go any further without screwing up. So a couple people stopped and they were going north. And then I kind of regretted it. I was like, maybe I should have gone up there. Door County. It's supposed to be nice up there. And I'm like, if another person stops and they're going that way, I'm just going to go that way. But this guy from Afghanistan picked me up, and he's like, I'm going to such and such. He's like, that's halfway to Sheboygan. I'm like, okay. Hopped in, and it was not halfway to Sheboygan. It was in the wrong direction, actually. But he was interesting. He was from Afghanistan. He left in like 2021 when shit got weird, and like had to like fucking make his way through the country to get to the one airport that was still letting people out, and I don't know. And somehow wound up in Green Bay. Didn't like it at first, but he said he was liking it now. It's kind of his abridged story. But he dropped me off just like, we went back towards Green Bay and then down a couple exits. I'm like, how is this halfway to Sheboygan? So now I was totally off track. I'm like, Sheboygan's not going to happen from where he dropped me off. So I just looked at the map and I'm like, what is going on? And I saw Oshkosh. A sip of whiskey here. Saw Oshkosh. I'm like, Oshkosh, that's a cool name. Remember the overalls or whatever for kids or something. I'm like, let me just aim for there. So that's what I did. I got a ride from Appleton from some old Grateful Dead sort of hitchhiker kind of dude. And then a couple dudes drove me like into Oshkosh, dropped me off, and yeah, I sort of spent the day walking around Oshkosh, just checking it out, just seeing the parks, seeing the downtown, just walking around. Of course, wound up at a brewery. Fifth Ward Brewery is pretty good. One of the better breweries of recent memory. Kicked it there for a while because the bartenders were cool. And then it was starting to get late, and I was just deciding, should I try to keep hitching? Should I go find a dive bar, hang around? And I went to a grocery store first to chow, and then I was like, this dive bar situation kind of looks shit. Let me just start walking south out of here. So tried to walk south out of the city and maybe hitch a ride, you know. Just didn't work out quite that way. There's one last like little sports bar in the middle of nowhere in the country, and it was dark then, so I'm like, let me pop in here and see if something happens. You never know when you're hitchhiking, have a backpack, sit down in a bar, strike up a conversation. Lots of good things can happen, but not this time. Just had a quiet beer, and then did find out that there's railroad tracks nearby, which is sometimes an easy place to camp. So walked to the tracks, walked down the tracks, and finally was able to dip in and get kind of hidden away. Sometimes farmland is like tricky to camp in, you know. It's not a lot of woods sometimes in like farm kind of areas, so it's hard to get like properly hidden. But railroad tracks came in handy for the win. So the next day I was aiming for Waukesha, where this family was that I found on Trusters. It seemed cool. The dude said he had a recording studio in his house and you know, a little setup or whatever, and just seemed pretty chill. So made my way down there, got a ride from a dude, El Salvador, just to the next Fond du Lac. It's the name of the town he got me to. Took a while to walk through there, and then Mongolian truck driver, super happy Mongolian truck driver, didn't speak a lot of English. He picked me up there, and he was going to Lansing, actually. So I guess he was going all the way around the lake, or maybe he was taking the ferry, but he was going right through like the Milwaukee kind of area. So he dropped me off in a spot where I was able to get myself to Waukesha, hang around for a bit, and then yeah, meet this guy, and went back to his place and met his wife and 6 kids. They were all super friendly. They were having like a little dinner party that night with just a couple coming over. So yeah, caught up with them and ended up staying there for like a couple nights. Just getting to know them a little bit. The next day he dropped me off downtown during the day to kind of walk around, do my own thing. So did that. Spent the day in Waukesha, just wandering all over. When I got back that night, they're like, "You walked how far?" I'm like, "I don't know, probably like 10 or 12 miles today." And they're like, "Jesus." I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Once I'm in town, do a little bit of walking. I got to see where the breweries are, the parks are, where the library's at, I don't know, all the stuff. Check out the town thorough, like. So actually inadvertently hitched a ride that day, because on my way back to their place that night, they were having like some other people over, but they didn't want me to be there for the dinner. I guess it was, I don't know, some couple or something. But on my way back, it started downpouring rain, and some guy just gave me a ride right to their place without even properly hitchhiking. So that was cool. Bonus ride. And the next morning, they made up a big breakfast, chilled, and at this point, I was wanting to see New Glarus. Really, New Glarus Brewery. If you've never heard of it, it is a brewery in Wisconsin that's kind of got a cult following, and their thing is they only sell beers within Wisconsin, and that's kind of like a point of pride for them. I think it's kind of dumb, but it's like their whole thing, like all their marketing, whatever, is just like only Wisconsin. It's like, okay, guys, whatever. But it's decent beer, and I wanted to check out the actual brewery. So, and I had Madison on my mind. I've been to Madison a bunch of times, so it's not like I had to go through there, but it was on the way. And I do know someone who lives there. I knew he was going to be busy and didn't end up working out, but I was like, all right, I'll message him when I get there and see if it'll work out, and not so much. I did get one straight ride from Waukesha to Madison. This couple, this Indian girl from South Africa and her boyfriend from Ecuador, going to school there in Madison. They were super friendly. Drove me over there. And then I just kind of was texting back and forth with this dude, seeing if he was around, but it wasn't going to work out. So started hitching out. This was pretty cool. This guy gave me a ride, and he went out of his way to get me directly to New Glarus Brewery and dropped me off there. And we were having some good conversation. And like I said, he went out of his way a little bit to get me there. Dropped me off, and the brewery was super lame. I think like maybe the main one is under construction, and this one was just like fucking weird. It wasn't like a regular brewery. It was just touristy shit, to be honest. Like, I had to walk up to this one booth, and they're like, you can either get a pint or the sampler. And I'm like, well, let me see what you got. And they had a bunch of boring looking beers, to be honest. So I'm like, I'll just get the pint. It was like $8 for a pint. But then she gave me like a token thing, and she's like, you can go choose whatever beer you want, and then you can take this token to any bar in town, and you'll get a free beer. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that kind of makes up for this being $8. So I got the beer, and then when I finished, I went back in to give her the glass and tried to ask her, like, which bar is worth actually going to? Will any of them have any of your beers? Because you don't have many of your beers. You know what I mean? And she's like, well, you keep the glass. That's part of the thing. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess that's cool. Now I have to carry a glass around, but I guess I see how the $8 is being better. I don't know. But no advice on like a good bar to go to. She's like, all of them take the token. I was like, I understand that. It's just like, well, any of these bars have your beers that you don't have here? And she's like, I don't know. So whatever. I walked into town, found a bar. Turns out the token was only good for 5 ounces of beer. I'm like, that's dumb. So paid $3 extra to get an actual pint of beer. And yeah, I was like, all right, let me get the hell out of here. So I started walking out of town, and at this point I'm kind of just like Iowa bound. So I start walking. One woman gives me a ride, and then a second woman gives me a ride. A couple hours later, I'm in a Mineral Point, and basically at this point, my thought is my buddy in Minneapolis is not going to be back till the 19th or something. He's in Ireland. So efficiency-wise, it would have been smarter to go there first. But I have another friend in Sioux City I want to go see, and there's a casino in Council Bluffs south of there where it looked like I could stay for free. I'll get to that. So that was kind of like where I was heading. So I'm walking through Mineral Point, and this pickup truck passes me and then backs up. And he's like, hey, Kenny, what are you? You're here. And it was the dude who dropped me off in New Glarus with his wife. He's like, all right, fuck it. That's crazy. He's like, hop in, I'll give you a ride. So now he's giving me a ride to Dubuque. So kind of crazy. This guy picks me up like not 100 miles away, but 50 miles or so away. Again, second time of the day, just randomly passing me again. And once again, he's going out of his way to take me to Dubuque, and his wife's all about it. She was cool. So they drove me all the way down to Dubuque. I don't think I've ever been there, or maybe I've just passed through. At that point, it was kind of getting later, so I was like, all right, let me just check out Dubuque. So did that, found another good brewery. I think it was called Delusional or something. Shit, I wish I could remember the name of that brewery, but it was something like Delusional, and it was great, actually. Really good spot. Met some friendly people there, talking travel and junk, and then, found a place to camp. Figured I'd try my luck the next day, get into Omaha, Council Bluffs kind of area. So got up, walked for a couple hours through Key West, Iowa. And then finally this older couple, they were going to Cedar Rapids, or north of there. So they gave me a ride pretty much to Cedar Rapids. And then from there, this woman picked me up, and she dropped me off downtown Cedar Rapids, which is not ideal. I was trying to wrap around and get out of there. But once I was downtown, what'd I do? Freaking found a brewery. all my money's going to like basic beers. So yeah, popped in, nursed a beer for like a while, and then yeah, walked out of town. Got a ride from a cop. It's because I started walking on the interstate trying to get down to I-80. So a local cop picked me up, gave me a ride like 2 exits down to a gas station. It was weird. He was like friendly, but not, I mean, I don't know. It's getting me off the highway, and he's like, if you need any help, more help, just give us a call. I was like, I mean, you can drive me down to I-80. Like, I don't have more help. That's whatever. So luckily I did get a ride down to I-80 from some other guy, and I was on the highway again, but I wasn't concerned. If you get a ride from the police and they tell you to get off the highway, it's best not to get back on the highway. But in this case, it was a local cop, and I was now out of Cedar Rapids, so I knew if another cop stopped, it wouldn't be him, and I wouldn't be in the system, blah, blah, blah. So I wasn't too worried about it, and I waited a few hours, actually, until finally this woman gave me a ride. She pulled over. I ran up to her truck and car or whatever, and hopped in. Before we even pulled out of the shoulder, she's like, "You hungry?" I was like, "Yeah, kind of." She had this leftover like sausage plate, gave me that. And then we started moving. She said she was going to Des Moines, which is halfway to Council Bluffs, Omaha. And before long, she was offering me a place to stay, just being super, she wanted to be as helpful as possible was her whole thing. Like, what, she was just like, what can I give you? How can I help you? She's like, I work at a hospital. Can I fix anything? Do you have anything wrong with you? I'm like, I don't think so. But super nice, super accommodating, really cool. By the time we got to Des Moines, it was pretty much dark anyway, so I'm like, I will definitely take you up on the bed in the garage. So popped in, got a shower. She was just trying to hand me all kinds of food, chips and ice cream, and what else can I give you? And here's some White Claws and more food. And here's this, she gave me this fancy tube of toothpaste called hydroxy nanoapatite or something like that. I was like, all right. Super cool. And yeah, she's like, I need to go to work at like 6 in the morning, but you know, nice to meet you. Sleep in as long as you want. Sliding door will be open. She lived with her daughter and some other roommate, and like they all lived in their own little like worlds. You know, one of those kind of situations where everyone's in the same house, but everyone's kind of locks themselves in their room and stays independent or whatever. She's like, yeah, do your thing. So got some good sleep, and yeah, in the morning, I did not get up at 6 when she did. I got up probably like at 7 or so, and then made my way out of town to the edge of the city to start hitchhiking towards Council Bluffs, which was, I think, less than 100 miles away. And I'm like, all right, this should be not so bad. Ended up being 3 rides, one of which was a cop. So the first guy was like, worked on a trail crew, carved out trails. He's done it all over the country, PCT, some other stuff. So he was kind of cool. And then I was walking on the highway, and sure enough, state trooper came, and again, like really friendly, Iowa state trooper. He's like, yeah, technically it's illegal to be on the highway, so I'm gonna give you a ride to the next gas station. And then when we got to the gas station, he pulled up a big map on his computer, and he's trying to show me back roads I could walk. And I was like, all right, I don't think I'm gonna do that. But so I actually walked back to the on-ramp, and then just waited there. And finally, this girl picked me up who was going to Omaha. So fucking A, made it. She dropped me off there in Council Bluffs, and then I took advantage of the casino thing. So if you heard my stories before, you know I've been to a bunch of casinos and sometimes get free rooms, but I've kind of worn out my welcome. I don't know, worn out my credit. Like, I don't know. I'm not like the same like free shit that I used to be able to get, but they still offer me like free rooms here and there, but it doesn't count this like resort fee kind of thing. It's a whole thing. So it's not like technically free. Sometimes I look it up and it could be pretty cheap, like $15 a night, but still that's far from free. But this place, Horseshoe, it's called, in Council Bluffs. The casino doesn't actually have its own hotel built in. It's like a Hilton next to it or whatever, but it's basically connected. But anyways, I think because of that technicality, it does not have a resort fee. So maybe like one of the only spots where I can get an actual totally free room. So I'm like, all right, I tried it. It worked. Checked in. It worked. 4 nights for free. So I was like, all right, sweet. Get some trip hopping stuff done. I'm less than 100 miles south of Sioux City, where I'm going to see Liz, my friend. She's been on the podcast a bunch of times. So just kind of hanging out here until I go up there and get some stuff done. So, whoo, that's all the Midwest stuff, guys, for the moment. More coming up. Oh, my update is live. Oh, nice. Just got that message just now. So all the trip hopping stuff I mentioned earlier is now live on the Android app too. Just saw that flash through. Cool. So everything I talked about is live. But yeah, so I'm here. Tried to make some money. Didn't work. So I'll still be just able to get a beer here or there, but not much more. Until I drum up some cash some other way. But yeah, I figured I'd give it a shot. Casino. Always got to give it a shot to make a little extra money. That just didn't work out. But yeah, let me jump into the outro and tell you what's going on next. All right, yeah, so I had some chill days here in Council Bluffs. Yeah, basically there's not much in this area. So I literally just been doing some of the trip hopping stuff. Got that update done, which I just saw flash through. Like I said, that's live now. So that's cool. But tomorrow I'll be going up to Sioux City to see Liz Stewart. So if you've listened to this podcast a bunch before, you might have seen an episode or 2 or 3, maybe as much as 4 episodes with her. I'm almost certain she'll be down to do an episode when I'm in town. So yeah, that's the plan. Wake up tomorrow. It's a bit of a walk to the highway, but it's less than 100 miles up to Sioux City, so it should be a pretty chill day. And yeah, excited to see her. It's been a couple years since I was there in Sioux City. You can go back and listen to that episode I did with her. I also filmed at 2 breweries for hopping when I was there, Jackson Street Brewery and Jefferson Beer Company. Those 2 episodes are up on the hopping channel. No plans to film any of that when I'm up there, but that could change. Not sure how long I'll be there or what's up, but that's sort of the plan for what's next. Yeah, go there and hang out, and my buddy from Minneapolis will be getting back from Ireland, I think any day now, so I can pretty much head up there whenever, I think. So that'll probably be after Sioux City, and then just continue my wandering westbound via these northern states. So we'll see. North Dakota, South Dakota, maybe back to Iowa. There could be Nebraska, Montana, Wyoming. It's all on the cards. We'll see what happens, but yeah, just winging it, which is nice. I got nothing on the schedule that's concrete, so kind of nice. I can just kind of see what happens day by day and get after it. So that's what's up. Hope you guys are doing awesome, and yeah, get on trip hopping. I say it every episode, it's just getting better and better. There might be another little meetup in October in Phoenix. Nothing official yet, but it's possible. So anyways, getting better and better. Check it out, and fucking A, I guess that's about it. Hope you guys are all doing awesome, and I will see you down the road. With all my shit straight, I'll get my big brain.